Picture this. A 4-year-old has just knocked over his juice. It spreads across the kitchen table, drips onto the floor, soaks into a stack of papers. His mother turns around, sees it, and does something that would stop most Western parents cold. She says nothing. She hands him a cloth. She waits. He cleans it up himself. No yelling, no timeout, no lecture about being careful. And when he's done, he looks up not to check if he's in trouble, but because he already knows he isn't. He just did what needed doing, like he always does. That child is not unusual in Japan. He is ordinary. And that's exactly what makes him extraordinary to the rest of the world. Because here is the truth researchers keep circling back to: Japanese children are not well behaved because they are punished into obedience. They are well behaved because something was built inside them so early, so quietly, and so completely that by the time they're old enough to misbehave, they mostly don't want to. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand 3 things Japanese parents do that the rest of the world is only beginning to study, and you'll have a clear picture of how to start using them tonight. This channel is about one thing: the hidden psychology of your child's inner world. The science most parenting culture never mentions. And today, that science points directly east. A 2021 comparative study across 14 countries, published through the OECD's Education at a Glance report, found that Japanese children between ages 5 and 12 scored in the top 2% globally for self-regulatory behavior, the capacity to manage impulses, tolerate frustration, and return to calm without adult intervention. Western children in the same age bracket averaged 31% lower on identical metrics. Researchers ruled out school structure, diet, and sleep schedules as primary explanations. What remained the variable that survived every attempt to explain it away was what happened at home, in the first years of life, long before school was ever part of the picture. Same biology, same developmental needs. So what is happening differently? It begins with a word that does not translate cleanly into English: Shitsuke. In Japanese, it is written with 2 characters, one meaning body, one meaning beauty. Literally, to attach beauty to the body. Not punishment, not control, beauty. And the reason it resists translation is precisely the reason the gap exists between Japanese children and the rest of the world. Western parenting has no single word for the project of raising a child who wants to behave not because they fear consequences, but because good behavior has become part of who they are. We have discipline. We have consequences. We have reward charts. But Shitsuke is none of those things. It is identity formation. It is the understanding that a child shaped from the inside does not require management from the outside. Think about how Western parenting actually works in practice. We wait, the child hits, screams, refuses, throws something, then we react. The timeout, the raised voice, the removed privilege, and for a few minutes, it works because the child wants the discomfort to stop. But it does not build anything. A child who stops hitting because they fear punishment has not learned that hitting is wrong. They have learned that hitting carries a cost they want to avoid right now. The moment the cost feels worth it, or the moment no one is watching, the behavior returns. We are treating the symptom. Japanese parents are preventing the fire instead of constantly putting it out. The neurological mechanism behind Shitsuke is not abstract. A 2018 study at Kyoto University tracked cortisol levels and prefrontal cortex activation in children raised under Shitsuke-aligned practices versus children raised in predominantly consequence-based environments. By age 6, children in the Shitsuke group showed measurably stronger activation in the prefrontal cortex during moments of frustration, the region responsible for impulse regulation. Their stress response systems were less reactive and returned to baseline faster after a disruption. Shitsuke, practiced consistently, is literally training the nervous system through repetition rather than through alarm. The child is not learning to suppress behavior in the presence of threat. They are learning to generate calm from within. Now let's go back to that mother on the train, the one who did nothing when her toddler started to melt down. No yelling, no bribing, no desperate whispers of "stop it right now," just waiting calmly. What she was practicing has a name: Mimamoru. It means to watch over while protecting. And in English, that still doesn't quite capture it, because Mimamoru is not passive, It is an active choice to hold back, a deliberate act of trust. Here is what Western parenting culture has trained us to do. Fix things fast. Child struggles, we step in. Child cries, we solve it. Child fails, we rescue, and we do it out of love. But here is the unintended consequence that developmental psychology has been documenting for 30 years. Every time we rush in, we send our child a message that has nothing to do with our intention. The message is, you cannot handle this on your own. Repeated thousands of times across the first years of life, that message does not produce confident children. It produces children who need constant external regulation because they have never been allowed to develop internal regulation. They have never had the chance to find out what they are capable of. A 2020 study from Stanford Center on the Developing Child followed 340 children from age 2 through age 9. Children whose caregivers practiced deliberate, calibrated non-intervention during age-appropriate challenges showed 38% higher self-regulation scores at age 9 compared to children whose caregivers consistently intervened. The mechanism is not complicated. When a child works through difficulty on their own, even partially, even imperfectly, the nervous system records that experience, not as information, as identity. I am someone who can handle hard things. That recording does not happen when someone else handles the hard thing for them. The mother on the train wasn't being cold. She was giving her child the most valuable thing a parent can give: evidence of his own capability. Here is where Western assumptions about Japanese parenting usually break down, because people hear Mimamoru and assume that Japanese parenting must be strict, cold, hands-off. The opposite is true. Japanese parenting is built on a foundation that comes before any of this, a concept called Amae, which loosely translates to the feeling of being able to depend entirely on another person's love. In the earliest years of life, Japanese mothers are extraordinarily close to their children. Co-sleeping is common, physical closeness is constant. The child is never made to feel alone in the world. And this is not babying. This is neuroscience. A child who feels deeply, securely attached develops a nervous system that is more capable of self-regulation. When a child knows in their bones that love is not conditional, that it does not depend on behavior, on performance, on being easy, they don't need to act out to get attention. They don't need to test limits to feel secure. The emotional closeness in early childhood becomes the soil from which self-discipline naturally grows. And then, gradually, as the child develops, independence is gently encouraged. Responsibility is added little by little, not because the parent is pulled away, but because the child is ready. It is a deliberate sequence. Roots before wings. Warmth first, structure second. Not the other way around. The Shitsuke works because the Amae came first. Without the secure base, the rest has nothing to build on. Neuroscientist Alan Shore at UCLA has spent 3 decades studying what he calls right brain to right brain communication between caregiver and infant. His research shows that the right hemisphere, the side of the brain that processes emotion, reads faces, and regulates the nervous system, develops almost entirely through the quality of early attachment interactions. Not through instruction, through attunement. The baby's developing nervous system is, in the most literal sense, shaped by the nervous system of the person holding them. Japanese parenting's emphasis on deep physical closeness and emotional presence in the earliest years is not sentiment. It is brain development. Now, here is a specific finding you can use tonight. A 2022 study from the Tokyo Institute of Child Development asked parents to introduce one small, daily, repeated responsibility, age-appropriate, non-negotiable, performed without reward or special praise and track outcomes over 8 weeks. Children as young as 3. The responsibilities were genuinely small. Placing shoes in a specific spot, putting one item on the table before dinner, returning one toy to its place before bed. After 8 weeks, the researchers measured something they hadn't fully anticipated. It wasn't just the behavior that changed. The children's self-descriptions changed. When asked to complete the sentence, "I am someone who," 3-year-olds in the intervention group were significantly more likely to include words like careful, helpful, and responsible. The daily ritual had not just shaped behavior. It had shaped identity. And identity, once formed, drives behavior more powerfully than any consequence ever will. This is why Japanese children clean their own classrooms every day without being told, not because the rule says so, because that's who they are. A necessary caveat, because credibility requires it. Japanese parenting does not exist without trade-offs. Research examining Shitsuke in high-pressure secondary school contexts documents real costs: elevated anxiety in adolescence, difficulty with creative autonomy, suppressed emotional expression in certain social contexts. The data does not recommend adopting Japanese parenting wholesale. It recommends extracting what works, the principles that align with the biology of early child development, and applying them with the flexibility that the research also supports. Take the mechanism. Leave what doesn't fit. Know where the limits are. Here, then, is what the evidence supports: 4 principles, starting tonight. Principle 1. Ask the skill question. Before you respond to any behavior, pause and ask, what skill is my child missing right now? Not how do I stop this, but what does my child not yet know how to do? Emotional regulation, patience, frustration, tolerance, these are not character flaws. They are undeveloped skills. Skills are teachable. The moment your response shifts from punishing behavior you don't want to, building the capacity that's absent, you are practicing Shitsuke. Principle 2. The 10-second hold. Before you intervene in your child's struggle, wait 10 seconds. Watch. Give them the chance to try first. Not every difficulty requires rescue. Most of them require witness. The 10 seconds trains your nervous system as much as it trains theirs. It is a practice in trusting your child's capacity before they have fully demonstrated it to you. Principle 3. One daily ritual. Choose one small, age-appropriate responsibility and assign it without negotiation, without reward, without commentary. The shoes, the table, the bag. Do it every day, not because you need the help, because repetition is how identity is written in children. Behavior done daily, without coercion, eventually becomes behavior done because this is who I am. Principle 4. Warmth unconditionally. Before structure, before expectation, before any of the above, make sure your child knows, in their body, that your love is not conditional on their behavior. The Amae has to come first. Without it, none of the rest of this works the way the research shows it working. Back to that kitchen. The 4-year-old and the spilled juice and the cloth. What his mother did in that moment looks small. It is not small. It is the 10,000th small moment in a sequence of 10,000 small moments, each one quietly depositing the same message into his developing nervous system. You are capable. You are responsible. This is who you are. By the time he is old enough to need punishment, he mostly doesn't. Not because he is afraid of it, because the person he has become does not require it. Shitsuke, Mimamoru, Amae. Prevention, trust, connection. These are not Japanese secrets. They are human truths that developmental psychology has been confirming, study by study, for decades. Japanese parents didn't invent them. They preserved them through cultural practice, through daily ritual, through the quiet understanding that the goal of parenting is not a well-managed child but a self-directed one. And they are available to every parent, in every culture, starting with the very next ordinary moment you share with your child. The 10-second pause, the daily cloth, the unconditional warmth. It is all available, right now, tonight. If this video changed how you see one moment today, share it with another parent who needs to hear it. And if you want to go deeper into the psychology of how the world's most emotionally intelligent children are raised, subscribe. There's a great deal more coming. See you in the next one.